Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. For today's card, I'm going to be using the Bookworm stamp set from Mama Elephant. I have a piece of Canson watercolor paper in my MISTI, and I'm going to be stamping a whole bunch of books on this with my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I wanted to stamp these books in rows going all the way up the page and all the way across. When I first started stamping, there wasn't enough room in the MISTI for me to complete each row. So once I finished what I could, I turned my paper so that I could finish all of the rows. When I turned the paper, it did hang out the side of the MISTI, but that's okay. As long as your MISTI is clean and doesn't have ink on it that could transfer to the paper, it's okay if your paper hangs off. Once all the stamping was done, I taped down my paper to a board for some watercoloring. I used my Gansai Tambi watercolor set for this piece. This first color that I'm using is Imperial Violet, which is color number 38. When I first started painting, I started a little bit too dark. I like to start from very light and then work my way to the dark colors. I just find that it's better that way. In case you make mistakes, it's easier to fix it. So as I go on, I start to lighten that color up a little bit. I do eventually want it to be dark, but I like to work up to that. I'm going to be painting these books in rainbow order. So as I painted the purple books, I tried to make sure to leave the right amount of books in between for all of the different colors. I did mess up the counting one time so that it was short by one book, but that's no big deal. The blue that I'm using here is the cerulean blue, which is color number 63. This next color is the color Carmine, which is color number 35. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go for a pink or for a red for my rainbow, so I settled on this rosy red color. The next color that I used is the turquoise green deep, which is color number 57. This color is technically not part of the official rainbow, but I often stray from that official rainbow, especially with my pinks and my reds, because, pink isn't normally in the rainbow, but I often use pink instead of red. But I really like the addition of this turquoise to my rainbow. I've done it before many times. This green that I'm using now is the sap green light, and that's color number 51. I like to give the color numbers because the actual names of the colors vary depending on which set of Gansai Tambi watercolors you have. This next color that I'm using might look like it's yellow, but this is actually an orange color. This is cadmium orange, and it's color number 33. Finally, for my yellow, I used the color cadmium yellow, which is color number 43. I actually really like the way that these colors look in this stage, but I do go back over all of them and darken them up. I'll have to do a project in the future where I use all of these colors in those lighter shades. So to darken up all of these colors, I used the exact same color and went over it a second time, except for with the orange color. For that one, I mixed together the cadmium orange and the cadmium scarlet, which are colors number 33 and 31. Because the cadmium orange just wasn't cutting it, it was too yellowy. So that's why I decided to mix in the cadmium scarlet. So while I'm finishing up the painting here, I need to tell you guys about my fun-filled week. So on Tuesday morning, I woke up to a crazy thunderstorm, and I woke up because of the ridiculously loud thunder that happened right outside my window. So when the thunder woke me up, I noticed the sound of water trickling, and I got up and I found out that the air conditioner that was in my window, the water was coming in through the window because our windows, the windowsills have kind of like a dip in them, and that dip had filled up with water, and it completely filled, like a gallon's worth of water, and then it started just pouring over the edge onto my bedroom floor. And that's a really fun thing to wake up to. Pause on that story for a second. Back to the card. I used a very watered down version of the black color from the Gansai Tambi set, which is color number 20. And I did some shading on the pages of the books that are on their sides. And then I darkened up that black color a little bit to fill in the spaces in between the books. And then after that, I'm actually going to take a blue color, which is the indigo color number 67, and I'm going to add that to the backgrounds to give it a kind of bluish tint. Okay, so back to my story. Very quickly, when I realized that the water was pouring into the room, I grabbed some towels and started trying to stop the water. And then we realized that we just had to take the air conditioner out, and it was screwed into the windowsill. So we had to go run it and get a drill and then quickly take it out. And when we took it out, we wrapped it in this old blanket because it was soaking wet and dripping everywhere. And we didn't want it to drip all over the carpet. So we wrapped it in an old blanket and then put it in the shower. Okay, so back to the card. I used a Copic multi-liner and a ruler to draw some straight lines underneath the rows of books so that they could kind of look like they're sitting on shelves and not just floating. And then I colored the space in between the line and the books with my black Arteza marker. Next, I used a large circle die to cut a circle out of that panel. And I'm going to set that circle aside and eventually make another card with it later. Next, I have another circle that I die cut out of some Bristol smooth paper, and I'm doing some stamping on it. So I stamped this little guy that's reading the book onto the Bristol smooth circle, and then I stamped it onto a piece of masking paper and cut it out with my scissors. When I was cutting this, I just removed the sides of the glasses because when you think about it, everything that's behind those glasses, you're going to see through them, so you don't need to mask them. I placed that mask, and then I'm going to stamp these other two animals next to the middle one. And because that one's masked, these two animals are going to look like they're behind that middle one. I'm going to be coloring in these little critters with my Arteza Real Brush pens. And if you're curious about the colors that I'm using, I'm going to have those names in the corner for you. Okay, so back to my story. So we pulled out the air conditioner and put it in the shower, and then everything was okay. We used some towels to get any of the water that got on the rug. It wasn't that much, not a lot of damage was done. So we got up, had our breakfast, and we sat down to play some video games because, as you know, I took off Wednesday so that I could spend some time with my husband playing the new World of Warcraft expansion, which just came out, because yes, we are huge nerds. So we were sitting there starting to play the game, and my son yells from the other room that water was coming in through the back door. So I get up and I go to the back door, and it's one of those big sliding glass doors, and there's just water seeping in through the baseboard where the floor meets the baseboard. It was just coming in from underneath the baseboard and slowly making its way across the carpet of our mudroom. So we very quickly went through all of the towels in the house, and I told my husband that he should probably go to the store and get sandbags because the water was still coming in. So he ran to the store and got some sandbags, and then when he got back, we put them in front of the door outside. And it was still pouring like crazy outside while we were doing this. So we're outside putting these sandbags in front of the door, and I dropped one in front of the door, and our patio has like 3 inches of water on it. It's like completely flooded. And when I put the sandbag down, it like all splashed up on me, and I was covered in dirt and water, and some of it got into my mouth, and it was gross, but I didn't care because I just wanted the water to stop going into my house. But the good thing is those sandbags did help, and the water did stop going into our house, and we were able to fix it all. But that was my exciting, fun Tuesday. Anyways, back to the card. Sorry that story was a little bit long. I'm going to be stamping my sentiment now, and I'm using a stamp from the Goodreads stamp set, which is from Mama Elephant. And I stamped it onto some black cardstock with my Versamark ink, and I'm embossing it in a white embossing powder. And that sentiment says, a great friendship is like a great book. It will stay with you forever. And I think that that sentiment works really well with this card, with those three little critters all huddled together reading. I glued my watercolor panel to my card base with my ATG gun, and then I popped up that circle with some foam tape, and I'm going to pop up the sentiment as well. Next, I took my Dolphin Gray Arteza marker, and I did some dashed lines around the border of the circle. Now, I actually lost the footage for the next part of this card, but I took the ice blue Arteza marker, and right here you can see me practicing, and I'm going to draw some straight lines on the back behind the critters to kind of make it look like there's a wallpaper on the wall behind them. I did freehand those lines and they aren't exactly straight, but that's okay. This is a handmade card and it doesn't have to be perfect. For the finishing touches, I added some glossy accents to the glasses on the dog, and then I went over the sentiment with my Wink of Stella glitter brush, and I also added some white dashed lines around the watercolor panel with my white gel pen, and then this card was all done. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this colorful card using the Mama Elephant Bookworm stamp set. All of the supplies that I used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching and you haven't become a subscriber yet, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Monday. Again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great weekend.